Tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa.
Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one.
Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one.
Namo saranto suchedoye Allahudi sanmyao sanbutoshe.
Namo saranto suchedoye Allahudi sanmyao sanbutoshe.
无上甚深微妙法，百千万劫难遭遇。我今见闻得受持，愿解如来真实义。Supreme and wondrous Dharma, subtle and profound, rarely is encountered, even in billions of eons. But now we see and hear it and accept it reverently, truly understand the Buddha's actual meaning. Alrighty, 师父上人，各位师兄，大家阿弥陀佛, Venerable Master, Dhamma friends. Welcome to Sutra lecture tonight. My name is Heng. It is Saturday, July the 13th, here in Berkeley, California, and we're about to launch into our weekly lecture on the Flower Garland Sutra, the Avatamsaka Sutra, and glad you're all here with us tonight. I'd like to express my gratitude to all the folks who are putting this lecture on here in Zoom and out in YouTube. It's being translated into Chinese from Australia. I handle the English, and it takes a lot of energy and attention and focus and time to get this lecture going, so gratitude. We're going to invoke spiritual presence with the verse that you see on the screen there. Please join in if you care to. One more time. We've got some strong voices on the men's side. Goodness. Very nice. That melody is kind of ripening like an old rose bush. We have a rose bush outside between our two buildings that must have been there for 40 years now, and the roses that are coming off that are, you just wonder how could something be created naturally that looks that splendid. They're huge and just brilliant. Yeah. All right, so here we go. We are continuing to acknowledge country. We say the Chocechno Ohlone people practice spiritual connections to the earth and to all creation here on their ancestral land for tens of thousands of years before the white folks got here. Today we acknowledge them as traditional custodians and original storytellers of these lands. We offer our respect to their elders past, present, and emerging, and to all First Nations people whose sovereignty was never ceded. 就说我们恭敬地承认 Chocechno Ohlone 人，他们是我们寺院所在地的传统叙事和守护人。我们向过去、现在和未来的长者们致敬，并且向所有从来没有放弃的主权的移民民族的原住民致敬。Bells sound wide, resound throughout 100 million worlds. The Buddha's law is heard and spread all throughout the triple world. The wondrous sounds that everywhere fill the Dharma realm with peace. May those who hear it gain the strength to follow in faith the Buddha's path. 众生传3000界内佛法扬欢一国中，共训其法界和平，利益报他诺后德。One might hope. All right, here it is. So tonight, go. Tonight we're going to continue with the Flower Garland Sutra. We have a brand new teacher for our pilgrim. Sudana is going to teacher number 3 if you start with Manjushri. And we get the rhythm of his visits, looking for Dharma, looking for ways to wake up. And we're going to look at we're going to digest some of the language, because it's easy to assume that we're all speaking the same language, but just the basic words that are being used here, I think it's really helpful to chew on them for a while, to see what kind of flavor, because first of all, they were spoken probably in Sanskrit, some Indian language. Then somewhere in the 4th and 5th century, they got translated into Chinese, carried along in Chinese for all those years, then on to Korean and on to Japanese, sometimes in Tibetan. But now we're putting them in English. And can we say with certainty that we know what those words mean? And I'm the first one to say, answer is no. I've been studying Chinese for 50 years now, half a century. And actually more than that now, almost 60, come to think of it. Started in high school, so I was 15. Yeah, and I'll be 75 this year, so 60 years I've been studying Chinese. And my love for Chinese has not diminished, it's grown over the years, and my fascination with the characters, the way they're written, but it's one of those situations where the more you study it, the more you look at it, the bigger it gets. And they used to say that about Confucius, that if you look up, he just seems to get taller, and if you look around him, he seems to grow wider. Chinese language is that way. I was looking at an online Chinese dictionary the other day, and it came up with 90,000 characters. 90,000, not characters, but specific words. The characters are not that many, maybe closer to 50,000, but the words that come from them, the actual meaning units that they try to write down with, like that, are 90,000. So here we are trying to figure out, what did the Buddha say after all? What did the Buddha say? What does it mean after jumping 3 different language groups? Our teacher, Master Shenhua, thought it was so important that we understand this, that we come to grips with it and deal with it and go to sleep with it and brush our teeth with it and, practice our tennis and golf with these ideas. So every night that he was in America, he spent 90 minutes opening these texts and explaining them in Chinese and leaving it for us to chew on them. What does it mean? What does it mean? So tonight we're going to do that. We're going to not only move through the words, we're also going to examine them a bit. All right? Here we go. And then, Michael and I drove down from Ukiah this morning at 7 o'clock. Not that we were sad to leave 109 degrees Fahrenheit behind. 42 Celsius, 42.7 degrees Celsius. We're going to run right back up into the furnace tomorrow morning. Because why? This week, something very special, actually 2 weeks going on at City of 10,000 Buddhas. There's a major assembly happening up in Ukiah, and tonight is Saturday. 2 nights ago, we had 800 people kneeling and bowing under a canvas tent in 109 degrees heat. And if that sounds cruel and unusual to you, it was. It was cruel and unusual. But the people who could bear it, who could bear up under it, had some remarkable things happen. So I'm going to share some of that with you and tell you what happened. But we'll do that after we work on the sutra. So here we go. There it is. Hai Men Biqiu, Hai Men Guo. So there's a monk, it's number 3, and he's a bhikshu. His name is Ocean Gate, Ocean Gateway, and he's in the country called Ocean Gate. We can do, since you all are in such good voice, let's do the whole thing. Let's do the whole section here. It's really wonderful to hear so many folks, 异口同音, different mouths, but speaking in unison, reading these Chinese words. Here we go. Ready? I'll give it to you, give it back. Here we go. 20善财童子一心思维善知识教正念观察智慧光明门正念观察菩萨解脱门正念观察菩萨三昧门正念观察菩萨大海门正念观察诸佛现前门正念观察诸佛放所门正念观察诸佛鬼折门正念观察 诸佛等虚空界门 They're getting longer and longer, aren't they? 正念观察诸佛出现四谛门 And finally 正念观察诸佛所入方便门 All right. Now, people are still coming in, and we are running out of the chairs that have been put out, which means we need to put out some more chairs. And you might just extend them, just add on this end and add on that end, and yeah, there you go. Okay, appreciate your initiative there. Now, if people wanted to use the balcony, you could also do that as before. Balcony is a very nice place to sit tonight. Welcome. Come on down, sit down. Okay, if you want to sit down, there you go. All right. 椅子也可以, balcony 也可以. Some people prefer the balcony because you can see better. All right. Okay. Now, we're going to read this together, not in sequence, but consecutively. And there's a skill, there's a technique, there's a method that makes the unison reading sound really good. And the method has to do with looking at the punctuation. That guy, looking at that guy, and then looking at the white space in between. The punctuation is our friend. It's an instruction to us to pause. The period means take a breath. The white space is where we let the silence hold the sounds we make. And as we read, the real value is in reading and using our ears at the same time, which is to say, we listen to the person beside us, both sides, behind us, in front of us. So our voice matches, doesn't drown out, and is also, if you don't recite, it's not the same. So we don't get a chance to do this in public very often. How often do you get invited to read together in unison? It's a rare opportunity, especially when what we're reading is the Buddha's voice, the words of the Buddha. Okay? Here we go. At that time, the youth Sudana single-mindedly pondered the teaching of the good advisor. With proper mindfulness, he contemplated the method of wisdom light. With proper mindfulness, he contemplated the Bodhisattva's gate of liberation. Pause, inhale. With proper mindfulness, he contemplated the Bodhisattva's gate of samadhi. With proper mindfulness, he contemplated the Bodhisattva's gate to the ocean. With proper mindfulness, he contemplated the gate of Buddha's manifestations. Inhale. With proper mindfulness, he contemplated the gate of Buddha's Bodhimandas. With proper mindfulness, he contemplated the gate of Buddha's guiding rules. With proper mindfulness, he contemplated the gate of Buddha's identity with the realm of space. With proper mindfulness, he contemplated the gate of Buddha's successive appearances. And finally, with proper mindfulness, he contemplated the gate of Buddha's use of skillful means. All right. You know, it's almost music. I mean, what is music but vibrations that people put in space, either with strings or reeds or brass or skin vibrating on a drum, or our voices. And so when I hear all of you reciting together, it's nature's own music. It's wonderful. Okay, our hero, his name is Sudana, and he is on a journey. He's on a trek. He's a pilgrim. It says here, he's single-mindedly. That is to say, he's focused. He's given up a lot to go out on this search for enlightenment, for Buddhahood. And one thing you can say about Sudana is he's really a good student. He is the classic student. He's after knowledge. He wants to learn these things. So he's not wasting time. He's not walking along looking at his phone. Remember the first time I saw that, I was in Hong Kong, on the island, down near the government offices, and I was walking along, and there was somebody in front of me who was just kind of drifting, and his steps were to the left, and I thought, oh, you want to go around to the left, but he kind of drifted to the left, like a car that crosses the paint lines, and then I wanted to go right, and he was just kind of slowly walking along, and it's like he was completely unaware of the fact that there was anybody else in the world who might want to walk on the sidewalk. And I couldn't understand, and I looked around, and he had his phone in his hand, and he was walking and reading. This is early in the days of cell phones. And it was like, how this person is out of this world. He's, and annoying, it's irritating to have somebody just like, I'm the only person that matters on this sidewalk. If you want to read your phone, sit down, stand to one side, but not where people are walking. Don't be so selfish, So anyway, there he was. And now it's kind of rare. Walking through the Hong Kong airport now, not to say most people, a lot of travelers, busy. We got some empty seats down front, right down front. Empty, 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 empty. You got to sit right there. There you go. All right. But people, it's a common thing now for people to walk and read on their phones at the same time. So Sudana is not doing that. He is offline, but he is completely focused on the teachings of his good advisor, the one he's just left. He said goodbye to Bhikshu Clouds of Virtues, and he's now meeting this other Bhikshu, second monk in line, who's going to teach him. And that monk looks like this. Oh. We've got an artist's illustration. Here's the Bhikshu. Here's our hero. This little guy right there. Doesn't look like much. Great things come in small packages. Plus, this is an artist's representation. Sudana is not a baby boy. Sudana is a strapping, strong, healthy, vigorous 20-year-old. Somehow, over the years, the artists conceived of him, probably because his title is Tongzi, which is a young man, a lad. Right, lads. The use of the lad. That's him. Here's his teacher. Hai Man Biqiu, Bhikshu Ocean Gateway. He's got some attendants here who are probably figuring out what the monk is going to eat for lunch because they've got his bowl in their hand. Maybe what he's been offered by some of the devas who are up here, the gods, are coming along making music and making offerings. This teacher is pretty special, so he probably has some pretty special food that he's eating. And here's the Buddha, interestingly. The Buddha is in space. Why? Because, as you saw, the text says, with proper mindfulness, he contemplated the method of wisdom light. That's the first sentence of 10. The other 9 always start the same way. Zheng Nian Guancha. With proper mindfulness, he contemplated a gate. First, it's a bodhisattva's gate, bodhisattva's gate, bodhisattva's gate. Then it's Buddha's. Buddha, Buddha, Buddha's, Buddha's, Buddha. The other 7 are Buddha's gates. Now, here's where we dig into our analysis, right? So you notice over and over again, it said, Zheng Nian. Oop. There we go. Coming up. Sorry for the scrolling here. Yo, here we go. Here were those 2 words that we said 10 times over. Zheng, Nian. Everybody say Zheng. Nian. 2 fourth tones. Zheng, Nian. Yeah. Right thought. Literally, word by word. Translate it as proper mindfulness. Now, who's to say what's proper, right? Let's really translate it. How to skillfully hold your mind. Zheng Nian. Zheng by itself means right, correct. The standard, notice that character is really stable. It doesn't waver. It's boom, like that. Have you ever been counting things in great quantity and you had to mark it and you went 1, 2, let's see, I'll do it your way. 1, 2, 3, 4, slash. That way of counting, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, slash, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, slash. Like shuffleboard, when you do shuffleboard, you kind of don't like that. Or if you're maybe bowling or something, you count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. In Chinese, this is what you use. You go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Zheng. This is the counter. It's that, like that, right there. Okay, now, Nian, this word is really interesting because it can mean thought, like a thought in the mind. I thought of that. Oh, what do you think? It's a thought. But if you look at and you analyze the character, here it is. The top part is this word, jin, which means now, presently. The bottom part, xin, thought, another way to say a thought. It's the present thought. In other words, what your mind is full of. My mind is currently what I'm keeping in my mind, keeping what I am keeping in mind right now. What I'm thinking right this minute is nian tou, this thought. So it's the right way, the proper way, the straight ahead way, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 complete way to hold my mind. Of course, that implies there are lots of ways to lose, to crooked ways. The thing about zheng is it's it is not it. If you say make it right, you straighten it up to make it zheng. This is xie, that's crooked. It's going to fall over. It's not stable. Zheng is stable and steady. That's why it's considered to be the right way. So 10 times we were just told that Sudana is walking along the road to his next teacher. He's been told, go south, go find your next teacher. So he's on the road. He's out there hiking. He's got his Vibram-soled hiking boots. He's got his, maybe he's got walking poles. He's got his backpack. He's got his sunscreen, 50 PA. So he's ready to walk. It took him a week to find the teacher last time, and he had to go from mountaintop to mountaintop. Now he's going down to the ocean, because this monk, this teacher, is going to tell us, we're not going to get there tonight, but next week, he says, my Dharma, I contemplate the ocean. I watch the ocean. So he's probably a Pisces, you suppose? Maybe he's a Pisces. He's definitely a water sign. Might be a Cancer. Or a Scorpio. Could be a Scorpio. But he's watching the ocean. And from the ocean, he gets his insights, his wisdom. We'll find out about that next week. So we're told that Sudana is holding his mind correctly so that he can guan cha, contemplate. We get 2 words and 2 words. Zheng nian guan cha. With right mindfulness, he is contemplating. Now, what is contemplating? It's worth it to go through and explain this because it gives us a way to measure our minds. What am I doing with my mind right now? What happens when I want to see something clearly over time? Not just a flash, not come and gone, but I want to look at it, think it over, investigate it in my mind. That's what he's doing. Because why? He has just spent, you could say, quality time with a teacher who's already enlightened, who gave him his number 1 best method of practice. That was Bhikshu Doyun, Cloud of Virtues. Remember, he gave him all these ways of being mindful of the Buddha, 21 of them, 21 ways to look at the Buddha. And Sudana is not going to waste it. He's not going to toss it over and go listen to a podcast or, let that casually drift out of his focus. So he is holding his mind and he is guancha. Now look at this word guan right there. That is, by the way, Guanyin Bodhisattva's guan. The right-hand side of it has that, you see that part of it, that half of it right there? The first half, my cursor won't do half of it, but see the right side? It's that. What does it mean? It means to look, to see. It's a picture. You want to even go deeper. It's this. It's an eye on legs. When you see, your eyes go running out to see, right? It's actually a picture of your eyes running out to see something. So, you see, you put it on top. You slide, I can't do it. But you slide, well, yeah, there you go, right there. See, Jen? Aha. By golly. Let's create some Hanzi right there. What are you looking at? Stop looking at me. All right. So, his eyes, the thing is, though, for Guan, you don't look with your eyes, you look with your mind. We talk about with your mind, with your mind's eye. Where is your mind's eye? You have I've heard that all my life. That, in my mind's eye, I just saw, It means some internal vision. There is a place where the images happen. Where do those images happen in your mind? For sure they do. So that's the place where you contemplate. The thing is, most of us, there we go. Most of us, those thoughts come and go. They're replaced by the next one. That's normal and natural. Because Sudana he is a practiced meditator, he can hold those thoughts longer. He can look at them longer. And it's healthy. It's not an attachment. It's not an obsession. But he can choose to look at those thoughts longer. This word here, cha, guan cha, it means to inspect. It's actually the bottom part is to show or to teach. See if I can find it here. Yeah, right there. There it is. See that bottom part? It is to show, to display. And the top part is a cover over things on a tray. So it's detailed inspection. Guancha together, this word here, means to look at in detail, and because you're doing it with Zheng Nian, with right focus, right mindfulness, so you can think it over really well. You can hold something in your mind and inspect it in detail with your mind's eye. You can only do that when you got some meditative skill, when you can meditate, when your mind is quiet. It's not clouded by emotion. You might want to look at it, but you're just so upset over the way she looked at you out of the corner of her eye, just pissed you off, and you're just upset. Where's proper mindfulness? Or if you're super proud and all you want is everybody to notice how wonderful you look today, because you think you look wonderful, you're not going to have proper mindfulness. So what am I talking? I'm talking about afflictions. If our minds are normally afflicted, competing with emotion and up and down and bobbing up and down, of course, mindfulness will be slower. So Sudana can do this because why? He's been working with his emotions for a long time, and he's able to, not that he's unemotional, he's not a piece of wood, but he's also not ruled by them either. He can choose. He can choose. When it's right to feel sad, he feels sad. When it's right to be happy, he's happy. But most of the time, he's had plenty of emotion. He wants now to absorb what his teacher told him, because these instructions matter. These instructions matter to him. Okay, so now I got another picture of Bhikshu Haiman. Here's a different artist's interpretation. There he is. Notice he's by the sea. This one's smiling. He's got a halo because wow. So he's special. He's got this halo. And here's the Buddha that he's going to be teaching Sudana. And here's Sudana down here. I like, he's sitting in full lotus. He's got a mat and a cushion. Nice seat. Notice it's nice and wide. How many times when I go to lecture on sutras, people give me a kitchen chair, right? And I try to cross my legs and I'm like, whoa, could fall right off it. So it's nice to have a wide enough chair. That's why we use the floor. The floor is plenty wide, right? This platform. He's got, what has he got here? Probably a lantern, or that might be a bottle of something. It's not clear. He's got a nice tree right here, and he's at the ocean side. And Sudana is there, his palms together, asking for instructions. Okay, so let's go back now and plug in this idea, these new ideas to our text. So, single-mindedly, he's pondering, he's sui, he's thinking about what he heard from the good advisor. And here we go. Notice 10 times. With proper mindfulness, he contemplated. There it is, right? He's thinking it over. He's looking at it with his mind's eye in detail because he can. He can. And this is something that's worth contemplating. What is it? A method of wisdom light. What's a method of wisdom light? That's Buddhist jargon, huh? What's a method of wisdom light? Let's look at the Chinese. 智慧光明门. Okay, that word occurs 10 times. Man. There it is. What is it? That's another picture. That's a pictogram right there, one of the few. It's a swinging door. Remember in the last Western you watched, the sheriff gets off his horse and ties it up to the hitching rail and then pushes the doors open and walks into the bar? It's that. It's that swinging door. We got a swinging door right there. That's a swinging door. See, it really is a picture of the doors. Now, is it a door of wisdom light? Well, only if you're stuck in Chinglish. But if you want to translate it, it is a gateway, meaning a method, a technique, a practice. So, wisdom, light, radiance, practice. Practice of the light of wisdom. Is that metaphor? Does it mean if there's wisdom, there's light, and you get light by practicing it? Well, probably, yeah. But I think this is actually real. It's when you practice this method, a radiance arises, and it comes from wisdom. How does that work? Basic underlying theory of our school. Our school, our Chinese Mahayana, Hanchuan Fojiao, as they say, says that in our nature it's full of light. Our nature, our Buddha nature, is radiant. Yours, hers, his, mine, all Buddhas of the past, in the future. We have that light inside us. How come we don't know it? Because it's covered. What covers it is wuming, ignorance. That's a collective term. It's not a scold. I'm not criticizing it. Ignorance is the stuff that covers the light of our nature. Our Buddha nature inside is radiant. Prove it. Do you have somebody in your life who, when you were with them, you just felt, we say, charisma around them? You could close your eyes and you knew that they were there because you could, something about them just radiated goodness or wisdom or integrity or personal power, you could say. That's someone who was closer to their own Buddha nature than the ordinary person. I've met people. Those of you who've listened to my stories know that I had a high school teacher, Don Sharp, Mr. Sharp. He was not a teacher, he was a principal. Principal Don Sharp. He was a U.S. Marine. He had eyebrows that were just bushy eyebrows. And when he scolded you, you withered. If he was upset, if Mr. Sharp was upset with you, trouble, right? Because he had that command. He could command. And yet, if he smiled at you, you felt on top of the world. And I remember I was in student government in high school, and I would have to go to meetings and then run to class because the meetings run late. And I remember, if you're running in the hall after the bell rings, you're in trouble. You need a pink slip or else you're in trouble. You have a pink slip, you're allowed to be in the hall after the bell ring. So there's a public high school in Toledo, Ohio. So I remember I was in the meeting and had to follow up in the things that were said, and I was late, and I was running down the hall, and here comes Mr. Sharp this way, and coming along, and I'm like, uh-oh, am I? And he looked at me, and he winked like that, smiled. He was like, oh. So he was a proper, in Judaism we call him a mensch. He was a total mensch. And jiangfu, he was married to his wife for 50 years. They were a wonderful couple together. And the thing about Mr. Sharp was he was fair. He was completely fair. He had no favorites. And if he approved of you, it was because of your behavior, not because you were special in any way. So to earn his approval was something everybody wanted. That's the kind of quality that might be the radiance of wisdom. It's goodness, certainly. And another word for it might be virtue, gongda guangming, right? The light of virtue. In this case, it's because it's wisdom light, it means it's been cultivated. This is the light that comes from samadhi, and the samadhi comes from precepts. So this is a product. This wisdom light is not, it's not something that you get because you're a god or you're special or, you know, your father is wealthy. None of that. It's because you have cultivated the ignorance off your nature. Cultivation is the practice of removing the ignorance from our nature. That's our school's method. That's our hallmark method. The hallmark principle of our school is cultivation, is pulling the darkness, the woming, off our nature. Where does the ignorance come from? Where does the woming come from? Well, you'd say false thinking and attachments. Wang xiang zhi zhuo, those two things. Where else? Affliction. What is affliction? Troubles. Trouble. When our nature's troubled, it's afflicted. It's kind of like black smoke out the tailpipe of your car. You know there's something wrong in the engine when your tailpipe is putting out smoke. When we're afflicted, it's because there's something wrong in our mind. Same thing. What else? Emotion. Excessive emotion covers over our nature. What else? 知见, strongly held views, prejudices, and biases cover our nature. So the process of cultivation, no matter what gateway you use, what method you use to do it, is the process of transforming, removing the covers of our nature. All right? That's the basic idea. All right. So, wisdom light method. What is it called? He contemplated the method of wisdom light, the method of revealing, of allowing wisdom light to emerge. Probably need some more words there to make sense of it. Okay, that's the first one. Now, let's keep going here. The rest of them are gateways. 9 gate. Before we do that, got to take a break. Going to do a little bit of chanting here as medicine. Earlier today, one of our leading candidates for president experienced an assassination attempt, sadly, and it's going to reverberate. He's all right. I won't mention any names, you can find out, but just one of them, somebody shot at him. The person who shot at him is dead, shot by the Secret Service. This happened in Pennsylvania, and there's going to be repercussions. Just know, the next couple of weeks is going to be turned upside down. So I want to take a minute in the middle of the lecture to give you something other than my voice to listen to, and work on the karma that America is going through at this time. So we're trying to heal. Medicine Buddha not only gives medicine, he gives medicine for the invisible causes of illness, which is bad karma. So some of America's karma is coming due at this moment. So join me if you like. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasaja Sounded great. I hope that energy goes where it's needed. We have a lot of healing to do indeed. Okay, take a look here. So he's walking along, looking for his next teacher. He's going down to the sea coast, and with proper mindfulness, now we have a clue what that might mean. He's looking with his mind's eye, holding the instructions. He contemplates, he looks in detail at Bodhisattva's gate of liberation, how people get free, how they leave samsara, and then come back in. For a bodhisattva, getting out of samsara is just the first step. They have to come back in because everybody else is still in the continuity of rebirth, continuing. I want to come back to that in the context of what we did 2 nights ago. Okay, what else? Same, with proper mindfulness, he contemplated. What? The Bodhisattva's gateway, entry into, or method of samadhi, meditation, sitting until things are very quiet. Samadhi is not easy to approach because we move too much. Samadhi is, they call it zheng ding, zheng shou. It's right focus and the right way to receive the sensations of the body. Here's an example. We have this method called the Eightfold Precepts, where people who are not monks and nuns, who want to experience some of the lifestyle of a monastic and the dedication of a monastic. You don't eat after noon on the day that you're holding the Eightfold Precepts. And you also stay away from your partner. So there's no sexual contact and no eating for 24 hours. So what this is about is it's a way to be quieter than normal. And people tell me that the next morning, after not eating for afternoon, you can eat breakfast and lunch, you don't eat dinner. They say, wow, my meditation was so different this morning because I wasn't digesting. And also I wasn't outflowing. But that simple act of letting your stomach be quiet for, 8-10 hours, profound in how it affects your meditation. It's quieter. Who knew? So we monastics eat once a day. And the result of that is, there's another way to say what our lifestyle is. People talk about intermittent fasting. There's this whole new science of intermittent fasting where people are discovering the health benefits of periodically just not eating for a day or for a certain amount of time. We fast 23 hours a day, every day. That's our lifestyle. So what effect does that have on our meditation? You can imagine. People say, wow, I took the Eightfold Precepts for a day and one night, and the next day it was like, gee, it was like I could see, I could properly contemplate, I could zheng nian guan cha, I could with proper contemplation. Why? Gurgle, 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 gurgle? No, just the energy went somewhere else in your body. It wasn't there doing the work of digestion, which is normal, and not to say bad and wrong. It's just, wowee, when that energy is not going on down there, it's really quiet. And you know what happens? You can see more. You see further than ordinary. And that's good. That's a good thing for a meditator. So, samadhi has to do with being really quiet. Not to say that you have to starve yourself to get to samadhi, not. It's just, if you want to move in that direction, watch the effect on your body of getting quiet. What stirs up your body the most? For sure, anger. Anger stirs up the water. And Shifu would say, Master Hua would say, that a single spark from a match can burn down a year's worth of collected firewood. Back in the day when we all burned fire for heat and for cooking, you go out, you collect wood for a year in a shed. It just takes one match, it all burns up. He would say a single thought of anger can destroy a year's cultivation of merit and virtue, same way. So those are all, that's what we're up against. And samadhi is difficult to approach as a result. So he was taught by the previous teacher about the Bodhisattva's gateway into method of calming the mind. Lots of methods of calming the mind. Samadhi comes from taming our eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, and mind. Those six senses, when calm, open into stillness, samadhi. So he watches how bodhisattvas can do that. Why do bodhisattvas need samadhi? Because they have to put up with all kinds of disappointment, all kinds of failure, all kinds of postponements, all kinds of broken hopes and dreams in the process of teaching. It's not easy to put yourself out there and take a loss on behalf of others when we, you watch how Shifu tried hard to teach me, and just one after the other, I would tromp on the expedients that he would produce, just pathetic. And he was, oh, okay, well, we'll try again. We'll try something else. Yeah. Okay, this is an interesting one. Look at this. It says, Zheng Nian Guan Cha Pusa Da Hai Men, the gateway of a bodhisattva's ocean. What's a bodhisattva's ocean? Bodhisattva's gateway to the ocean. Probably it's Gold Coast. If it had to be somewhere, definitely it's Gold Coast. Michael's nodding, yeah, so. those miles and miles and miles of white, pure sand. Oh, my goodness. There's the Sunshine Coast, and then there's the Gold Coast, then there's New South Wales, then there's Byron Bay, and then on down, all the way down to Sydney and around. Just spectacular. And what you don't know, if you don't get on a boat and go about 100 yards off the coast, is there are whales going up and down, not all year long, but many months out of the year. It's a whale highway. Big sperm whales and right whales. And where they are, there are great whites, great white sharks right there. And so we went to the local wildlife sanctuary called Currumbin Wildlife Sanctuary. And they weren't open yet. We were there early. So we walked down 50 yards to the beach and just looking out, seeing if there's any surfers, how is it breaking? The major surfing spot. And instead of surfers, there were 20 dolphins going. It's like, this is quite an ocean to contemplate, right there. So in the Gold Coast, surfing news is big news. You're always learning about the break. And one of the important things that the city council contemplates is how to keep the swimmers and surfers safe from the sharks. Do you use gill nets? Do you use drones? They're now using drones. And the drones show you a guy on his surfboard paddling out, and there are these large, dark shadows underwater circling him. And they're like, oh, no. So, and the surf safety at Bond University, our Gold Coast major university, there's 3 or 4. Griffith is there, and Bond. But surfing medicine is a major. You can major in surfing medicine. How about that? So he contemplated the Bodhisattva's gate to the ocean. We do ocean in the Gold Coast. Do we ever? Next, proper mindfulness. He contemplated the gateway of Buddha's manifestations. Okay, from here on, Buddhas, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Buddha's gateways, which he's looking at with his mind in stillness. He contemplates the gateway of Buddha's manifestations. Manifestation means to appear. How Buddhas appear. They appear when the time is right. So there's this big controversy right now about Maitreya Bodhisattva. Our school says that Maitreya is in the heaven called the Tushita heaven, and he's in the inner courtyard. The Tushita heaven divides into inner and outer courtyards. He's in the inner courtyard of the Tushita heaven, waiting for us to cycle through our karma so that he can appear. Currently, there are 4 stages. There's coming into being, abiding, decaying, and then going void. And then it repeats, coming into being again. So, like birth, old age, sickness, death, worlds go through the same. We are currently in our old age stage of our planet. You notice, right? 109 degrees, not just in Ukiah, but up and down. Houston, meanwhile, Houston was hit with a hurricane this week. Hundreds of thousands of people are going to be without power through next week in Houston. And it's hot and muggy. Houston has like 99% humidity. Anybody ever spent a summer in Houston will never forget it. So we're in the declining stage. We're in the old man stage of our earth. It has to go through that and void and back before Maitreya comes. The next Buddha is Maitreya. I say it's a controversy because I remember when I was in seminary, there was this guy, I forgot his name. He was a British peer, he's a British gentry, who called himself Maitreya and advertised that he had already come. Have you seen those posters? He's here now. He's here. And the posters would say, Maitreya is here. No more waiting. He's here. You want to meet him? There's a meeting tonight in Dwinell Hall, and come and meet Maitreya. And he was this very dignified, soft-spoken, speaking with a posh accent, Maitreya. And he was convinced, and his followers were convinced. And he was very serious about it. He wasn't a cult guy. He was like, no, I am here, and you can meet me, And I would look at these posters and go, what if he's right? What if he's early? Maybe I should go meet him. Oh my goodness. So, Buddha's manifestations. I tried to look him up the other day, and I think he may have died. I think he may have gone on. But there were years when Maitreya was here. You missed him. Yeah. I didn't even know. This is before social media, so. Okay, proper mindfulness contemplated the method, the gateway of Buddha's Bodhi Mandas. This is the perfect segue to talking about what just happened up at City of 10,000 Buddhas. So we'll go here, Fang So Man. We're gonna mark that one, make it blue. Okay. Save that. There we go. Now, because of COVID, our regular cycle of offerings, of Dharma, of Man, of gateways, got backed up. And it's been 10 years since we offered the Zai Jia Pusa Jie, the Bodhisattva precepts for lay people. And we also haven't had a chance to offer the Sishar Shoyen, 42 hands and eyes method of Guanyin. And we also haven't been able to do the Youming Jie, precepts for the deceased. So somehow, we figured since everybody's going to be there, don't make them fly in twice. Do it all in a week. So we've been up there with 93 men, 140 plus women, studying the Bodhisattva precepts, transmitting the Eightfold Precepts. And in the middle of the week, 2 days ago, we scheduled the precepts for the deceased, which is a method where people can hold a plaque with the name of one individual and on their behalf go through a ceremony and receive what are the precepts for left home people, the 10 major precepts. 800 people signed up to take the precepts for the deceased. And they came from the entire world in a time of COVID, when COVID is rising. They all came in 109 degree heat, 42 degrees Celsius. We could have said, don't try to do it. We could have canceled it, but nobody wanted to. And as a result of deciding to practice the Bodhisattva path and on behalf of our ancestors and relatives holding those plaques, we went ahead and did it. And the efforts on behalf of our volunteers and Dharma protectors were just incredible. People came up with, for example, we found on Talmadge Road a company that would rent us 3 portable coolers. Unfortunately, one of them was out of repair, so they were screwdriver doing the wires. But we got 2 of them, and you had to feed them ice, and which they transmitted into mist, and they were silent. It was so nice. I was afraid they were going to be noisy and they couldn't hear my voice. So they were silent, but they required ice. And so Yuan Lin drove to Costco 3 times during the ceremony to load on more ice. He bought Costco out of ice to feed our swamp coolers. Then people came up with ice packs and little fans, and we said, anybody who is really dying of thirst, raise your hand. We will get you some water. The volunteers will provide you with water. And I saw Billy stand up and walk over, and I thought, wow, it must be really intense down there. So Billy got some water, and because you raised your hand, hands went up all over the assembly, and the 100 water bottles just landed in the assembly, drinking down. How can you ask elderly people, people with hip replacements and all, to kneel with 800 fellow people, the ambient heat BTUs of 800 bodies, under a canvas tent, in the heat, in the full sun at 5 p.m. So we did it, and I felt coolness. There was a cool breeze that came through that was just enough to take the edge off the heat. I had visions of people fainting left and right, and we were prepared. Victor, our doctor, and our medical personnel were there in case people. We said, if you faint, please faint forward. Don't faint backwards, because we don't want you to hit the book stand and boom, dong, 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 all the book stands in rows, So we didn't know what to expect, but Jin Fancher says, every time we do it, it starts to rain, So it didn't rain, and I hope his faith was not hurt by that. But we had the Buddha Hall set up to cool with a screen so that people could see and hear, and the Buddha Hall was much cooler than outside. But the Buddha Hall only holds at most, 300, and we had 800, so we didn't do it in the Buddha Hall. So we made it through. I have to say, the bhikshunis there were so awesome to see. I counted that, because you have to go to get your paiwei, the plaque that you hold with the name of the person. I counted the bhikshunis. I counted 79 bhikshunis in yellow robes. Turns out there were 78. And they came from all over DRBA. They came from San Jose, they came from Los Angeles, they came from Seattle, they came from Maryland to take the lay bodhisattva precepts. The bhikshunis were thrilled to have the reunion, because they hadn't seen many of them for years, and because they'd been off staffing branch way places. And they looked awesome. They looked so good to see these nuns who clearly knew how to wear their robes. They knew how to be Shifu's disciples. And they were there because of filiality. They were there to represent someone who, although they had died and gone on, were still alive in their hearts. And they were willing to undergo this discomfort for a while during the ceremony on behalf of others. It was amazing. And you know what? We did it in 3 languages. 3 languages. I spoke English. I translated for myself into Chinese. Dharma Master Hong Shan translated into Vietnamese. And you could tell there's a lot of it is repeating, You say, Di bu sha sheng shi pu sa jie ru deng jin xing shou neng chi fao neng chi, everybody says, right? They answer. You could hear, we said it in Chinese, half the audience responds. We said it in English, and another half responds. We say it in Vietnamese, and 1/3 of the audience responds in Vietnamese. So the fact that this is the Dao Feng, this is the way CTTB rolls, we are a multilingual, multicultural Mahayana monastery, and proudly so. So that to have 3 languages is standard operating procedure. We could have had Cantonese, didn't ask for it, too many. 4 is too many, can't have people kneeling in 100 degrees to listen to Cantonese. And in the future we might need Spanish, who knows? Wouldn't that be good if we could include Spanish at some point? At the moment, there's not that much of a need, but who knows in the future? So the experience of what's going on with the precepts for the deceased is that because it's dealing with people who live in our memories, but who are no longer here, the process is to bring up their souls from wherever they are. And it's kind of hard to describe. There's a moment when you really feel that King Yama has allowed the doors to open and these souls have arrived. And we invite them to repent of past bad karma. We invite them to take refuge and to hear the Dharma and then take the precepts. And then we send them off. And some of the results are funny. Some of the results are very touching. There are many, many tears during the ceremony. And I'm looking at everyone, they're looking my way. And I can see the people who are deeply moved. One of our senior nuns was crying as she was holding her paiwei. And I found out just actually an hour ago, these stories are filtering out. She had not planned to hold a paiwei, but one of the nuns who couldn't be here requested the precepts for someone who she had known but couldn't be there. So she said, could this nun kindly stand in for her? And the nun who was related, who couldn't come, said that as she heard the nun who was holding the paiwei agree and accept, she felt something move inside. And the nun who was holding the paiwei only knew the name. She didn't know, she wasn't related to the person. She said as she sat there, she just felt this wave of gratitude come in as the ceremony went on, as the ghosts were invited up. And she said she was just suddenly filled with this gratitude that she was willing to stand in. So you could just see that as people remember. There are many, many feelings, right? I never did anything good for my mom, but maybe this is my chance to finally do something good for, or my dad, or my brother, or my husband, or my wife. Sometimes the things that happen are kind of funny. One of our elder nuns had a dream last night, or the night before actually, twice. And it was her brother, and the brother came to her and said, "My name, you spelled it wrong." She woke up yesterday morning, went over to the Gongda Bu. Sure enough, they had written the character wrongly. So those precepts matter, and the spirits pay attention. So quite wonderful. And we created these brochures from a talk that Master Hua gave in Taichung in 1990 on You Mingjie, precepts for the deceased. And in the talk, Shifu said, this is the foundation of filiality. If we want to repay our parents' kindness, this is the very best way to do it. Because why? Nobody really thinks about their deceased ancestors. They think it's too late. They think it's over. He said, because we are willing to undergo this discomfort of the ceremony on their behalf, as a result, living beings beyond counting come riding on that light and get crossed over. In this way, we are transforming negative karma and preventing disasters from happening. He said, this is truly the conduct of bodhisattvas. So anyway, very powerful. Glad we had the chance. Now, going back up, because tomorrow there is the next step in the process of receiving the precepts, and then on Monday we actually transmit the Bodhisattva precepts for lay people. So this is a very active moment in the life of City of 10,000 Buddhas that our teacher left for us. And we hope now, if there are fewer pandemics, that we'll be on a more regular path and they won't all be crammed into 1 week. So. Can we dedicate merit and see you all next week? We'll find out how Sudana is walking, and when he meets his teacher, what happens. Okay, we let our thoughts fill space with goodness, however you want to dedicate merit. Here we go. If people hear and see how hands and hearts can find unity, they are miles away to bring compassion, wisdom, and to may promise my reward. May all sorrow be because of our son, this world of angels may all become compassionate and one. May all become compassionate and one. Okay, let's bow to the Buddhas. We can do it right from where we're sitting. Here we go. Bow in respect to the Venerable Master. Okay, that'll do it for us for this week. See you all next week. Amitofo. Good night, everybody. One.